Welcome to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast, a place to discuss pain, passion, and pursuits.
Let's get it. I want to feel alive.
Breathe.
Make some moves.
Protect the throne. This is Sexy Freedom Media Podcast.
Started. Welcome everybody to the Sexy Freedom Media Podcast with your host Helen Edwards and
January Liddell.
just really, like, what side are you on with this Zoom? Yeah, welcome everybody. So we have a really awesome topic today, and it's about owning your now. So what does that mean, January?
Woo! Okay. Owning your now. So for me, I know that I'm not the same woman that I was last year. I am a completely different person. I've evolved, I've changed. And so owning my now is really, I feel, accepting where I'm at this very moment and accepting my present circumstance. And so when I think about owning my now, I think about being in power, standing in power for really where I'm at, not really looking back and saying, oh, I wish I was that same person back then. And I know I've done it before. I've done it before where I'm looking back and I'm like, oh, I wish I was that skinny again. I wish I was, and I'm like, wait, hold on, and then I have to step back and realize, but I'm amazing now. So I am owning my now and where I am right now. So that's what it means to me, accepting it.
Accepting. Yes, that's so good. Actually, accepting has such a big thing to do with owning your now. I'm going to share a little story that happened yesterday, actually. And I posted it on my Facebook page, and I just shared, my challenges I had yesterday. I woke up in a funk. I know we all know what that is, and we all know what that's like. I woke up, I didn't want to fix my bed. Fixing my bed is the first thing I do in the morning. It's kind of like my getting started. I know that everything's in its right place. It's a signal for me that I've got moves to make, things to do, So I didn't want to fix my bed. I didn't even want to get out of bed, but I got out of bed because I had to brush my teeth and I had to go to the bathroom. Then I was like, okay, I probably should make some tea. So there's things that already kind of get you, it like forces you out of bed, right? But I didn't want to. I really fought with myself. And this isn't the first time. This happens actually quite a bit in my life, where I wake up in a funk. And because this has kind of been a part of my life, and it's a part of all of our lives, I do something where I do like a checklist. It's kind of like if the car starts jerking, you're like, okay, what's wrong with the car? Let me do a checklist. Is it the oil? Is it the gas? Is it this? Is it that? So that's kind of what I do with myself. I do a self-check, like, are my hormones off today? Did I get enough last night? Did I eat, sugary foods or drink alcohol or something to cause, my stress hormones and my, things to kind of go haywire within my body. So I did that yesterday, and I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to check social media. I actually started to, because I thought maybe I'd see something, maybe a positive post, because there's a lot of positivity in my feed. Didn't want to do that. It just felt like blah, like my world was just really, really gray. And I knew, okay, this is it. This is where you learn, you use your tools. This is the opportunity. Not for anybody else, but for me. This is for me to do this for me. And the person I'm up against is me. So owning my now yesterday was about winning the battle against my little funky self, because I knew I had it in me. There are days when I'm just like, you know what? I'm owning my now, and now I just want to do Netflix. I do just want to just chill all day. I do want to take this day of rest. But yesterday, I knew that I had more fight in me. I knew that I can surpass it. I knew I wanted to go to the gym, my home gym. I knew I wanted to go around the corner into the room where I have my gym at. I knew that I was capable of hitting some goals that I had, prepared for yesterday, that I could do this if I could just get past myself who was in a funk. So I owned it. I owned the person within me that knew that she could do it, that she could win. And I did. I eventually won. So that was yesterday. That was an example of owning my now. Today, it's different. I woke up really positive. I woke up great. And for me, what owning your now means is being aware of what your situation is day by day and saying, I understand the way I'm feeling. I understand what I'm going through. I understand that today is a new day. And this is how I'm going to choose to go through life today. So for me, that's what it means to own your now.
I love that. I love that you're saying that it's almost like a daily type of thing, right? It's a daily thing because we don't know how we're going to be feeling that day. We don't know like what stressors or whatever is going to come our way. So just like yourself, I do make my bed, that's kind of the signal to me too, is that got to make my bed. I got to do my morning routine, that all that has to kind of align. But even when we do all those things, there are moments where things just don't feel right. The energy, there's some kind of energy that is not there, but we have a choice. And I think that's one thing that I heard, I hear you saying is that you made the choice. You made the choice that even though, things weren't aligning the way that they were supposed to align, you in your mind said, well, I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm not going to let this change me. I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up and, and be what I want, be the day, have the day, what I want the day to be. And that's the whole owning your now. And to me, that's the same thing, right? So I'm going through some things. Don't really care to share it at this moment, but I'm going through some things, and I'm creating what I want for my day. So I could, right? Like the other day, I just wanted to Netflix and chill. So that was owning my now. At that very moment, I wanted to Netflix and chill. So I watched Home Edit. I love Home Edit. If you've never watched Home Edit, watch Home Edit. Thanks, Tammy, for getting me addicted because I love Home Edit. So if you're like me, and like any other mom, I think we like to organize and we like to like declutter and all that. And so that was my now. That was owning my now at that very moment, was Netflix and chill and learning about decluttering and organizing my space. Ooh, that was a good organizing my now. The other thing about owning my now, I got organizing on my brain. Owning my now is that it's okay. I have a shirt that says, it's okay to not be okay. And that could be your now at that very moment. And it's okay. We have to go through that process of not being okay. And it's okay. Sometimes you gotta just release. You gotta release whatever it is that you're feeling. Because if you bottle it up and you don't address it, then it eventually will explode, right? So you gotta listen to yourself, listen to your heart, be intuitive about what's going on within you. There are moments where you're gonna want to just Netflix and chill and relax, and there are moments where you're going to want to cry and you want to cry it out. Let it go. Let the waterfalls just go, and then there are moments, like Helen yesterday was like, fuck this shit. I'm not going to let this overtake me. And I'm going to take the day and I'm going to hold it by the reins. And I'm going to, sorry about my swearing. But yeah, that is, those are the three scenarios that I feel when it comes to owning your day or owning your now.
Yes, no, I feel that. It's true. I think far too often we find ourselves wondering what other people think or getting stuck on the idea of what other people think about our now. And I'm a studier of human life. I love watching people just conversate, and I wonder, what's going on? I've done this my whole life. I love observing. And when you become an observer of life, you start really noticing, you know, people's conversation, their feelings, you know, like if they're projecting or if they're, you know, saying, you know, woe is me and this is my life and you don't understand. And, you know, and it's like, okay, so I've learned, and I've shared this in the past in some of our podcasts, I've learned how to become a more active listener and just really realize, like, first of all, everybody's got their shit, everybody. Because you're going through something doesn't mean somebody else isn't going through something, because there's a lot of people out there who don't want their shit out there. They don't want to share what's going on because they are afraid of judgment. They're afraid of looking weak. Maybe they're people who are leaders and they don't want people thinking that they can't handle it, you know, but really we're just a bunch of human beings out there navigating through this human experience. And when we share our life with one another, we are giving information about the human experience to one another that we are going through, that we are filtering through our senses, through our emotions, through our hormones, through our bodies, through everything, you know, and our beliefs have a lot to do with that. So, you know, what's happening to me, I could be going through the same exact thing as you, January, right? And because of our beliefs, one, and because of our life experiences, two, there's so many things that could filter out and we could tell how we experience this in a whole completely different way, right? And because of that, that's why I say own your now, because this is your experience. It's not your friend's experience. It's not your, you know, these kids' experience or your, you know, your mentors or counselors' experiences. This is your experience. And I hope that gives you a little bit of awareness that you shouldn't be afraid to share your experience or own your experience, owning your now.
So I'm going to share a story. So Sam and I got married 2005. Okay. So, and at that point, you know, people didn't approve. They didn't approve of us. And so I owned my now at that moment. You know, that moment was, you know, I am in love with this man. I want to be with this man. He wanted to be with me. Right. So that was owning my now. And I had to go against a lot of different pressures and a lot of different obstacles, you know, but I owned it, and I owned it because that was the experience that I wanted to feel at that moment. Okay. So that was my now. And I'm realizing now, Helen, that we're going to have several different nows that we're going to own. You know, it's not just like a one-time thing. I mean, my now is going to be completely different from next year's now, you know, and that's okay. And I love that you're saying, you know, we're sharing our human experience. We're sharing our human experience. There's so many different things to capture, I think, from each individual, right? Because everyone's experiences and filters are completely different. And one of the things that I'm learning is a mantra. So like when I do when something happens, right, whether it be positive or negative or whatever, my mantra has always been gratitude. What am I thankful for? So when I'm owning my now, you know, gratitude is tied to that as well, because it may not be the now I want. Does that make sense? Like there are certain times when I'm like, this is not where I want to be. This is not the now I want, but I have to remind myself, so that gratitude comes in, and that gratitude tells me, like, breathe in. It is not the now that you want or that you expect, but be thankful and grateful for the moment that you have at this very moment. Because even though it may not be the now that you want right now, there's still there's a lesson and there's value to it. It's just we can't see it at that moment, you know? Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know, like, there's a time when the now is like, oh, why am I in this now? Like, I really don't want to be in this now.
Oh yeah. When you're in a really rough situation, right? maybe it's with work, maybe it's with your family relationship, and you start to wonder, how did I get here? Right. And you feel like, because your body is going to kind of do what it does, it goes into fight or flight. And for me, I'll just share my own personal experience. You know, I mean, this whole past year, I've been very open about what's happened. You know, my mom passing, you know, I ended up with cancer and got a surgery done. I had a wisdom tooth pulled that went wrong and my jaw was dislocated. This is just this 1 year. Okay. And I found myself many times going, how did this happen? How did this happen so quick? How did I not see this a year ago? There's always the questions, right? Because you're going to question, because that's what we do. We ask questions and we try to figure out the answers to our questions. But then there's that higher conscious that's saying, okay, I get you have questions, but let's do something. Like, let's do something that will take us into the next road so we can get off this road, get off this stuck, this yuck, this mess, because we want to feel good. And, you know, I think to myself, you got to fight. And before, it was about this, you know, flowing, like I'm calling things into existence. I was very like, la, 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 la. But I have a very warrior side to me, where it's like, if things aren't flowing for me, and I'm not getting, you know, out of the yuck that I'm in, I'm going to fight my way out, because I don't want to be there. I'm a fighter. And that is okay. To me, I'm owning my now, because I'm not going to allow myself to stay there until, you know, I call something into existence that gets me out. No, I'm going to fight my way out, because that's my belief. That's how I am. That's how I was raised. And that's the path that I've chosen. And let me tell you something, it works for me. And also, you know, the world is a soup bowl full of everybody else doing and saying. So everything's going to affect us. It's like a ping pong machine. You're going to hit a bunch of, you know, balls on the way down, or whatever they're called, on the way down. And that is going to have some effect on you. So you've got to, you know, going back to navigating through your filters the best way you can. But when you own it, when you say, okay, I see what's laid out in front of me, and I'm not going to let this destroy me, or I'm going to take a break and refill myself. Because it's like this threshold. If you start drowning, you know, it's going to go, you're going to find yourself deeper and deeper and deeper. So you've got to fight your way out. You've got to swim. You got to swim harder to get out of places of yuck. And it's okay to do that. Just like it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to do both. Mm-hmm. The choice really is ours, you know?
I'm just like yourself, because I'm a fighter as well. But I think a lot of it deals with really knowing who we are, you know, so there's a lot of reflection, self-reflection, you know, and really digging deep into who am I and what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to be? Who do I want to present myself to the world, you know? And I think it's a lot of like, it's a lot of like looking inside, you know, to which leads me back to like the acceptance, right? Acceptance of owning your now. So like for me, there are moments, like we said, like it's okay to not be okay, right? But there are a lot of moments for me now, because I know back then I wasn't a fighter. Back then it was woe is me. Back then it was like, I'm going to grovel and I'm going to dig that hole. I'm going to continue to dig that hole because I'm sad. I'm going to put myself in that little pity hole because I'm sad, you know, but then I stayed there and I didn't like it. So for me, I didn't like who I was becoming because I knew that I was like constantly marinating. I was marinating in my sadness. I was marinating in the past things that have happened and mistakes and whatever. And I was, you know, I dug that hole. and I didn't like it. I didn't like being in that hole. So I took myself out. And there are moments where, and it's a daily thing. Okay. There are moments where I feel like I've dug that hole again and I'm like, ooh, cover that hole. I'm getting back up, and I'm that fighter where I'm like, okay, no, Jan, what do you want to be? How do you want your day to be? Because we have a choice, right? So when we say owning our now, you make that choice. Which pathway do you want to own? And it's okay with whichever pathway you go, as long as it's something that you want to experience for yourself, right? So for me, this past week has been, on top of work, on top of, everything that I'm dealing with. I've had a roller coaster of emotions this week. Let me tell you, roller coaster of emotions. And my owning my now is definitely like, how can I explain it? It's like, it is all over the place. It's like, you know what, today I'm going to want to cry. So I'm going to cry it out loud. And then, you know what? And then most days I'm like, nope, I'm going to dance my way through it all. So that is owning my now at this moment. It was owning my now come January 1st, 2022, where even though, things were not going the way that I wanted to go, I said that I am going to find my joy. I am going to be in joyful mode, even if things are not going the way that I want them to go. So there you go. So that is my owning my now, is that you create it. You create your now.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I think there's so many of us that can relate out there who have had a really rough week. I know that I have as well. And I did do some crying, and it's good because I was like, okay, I can't let this just stay in me. I'm okay to cry. Like, I don't care, and I was thinking about this song I heard yesterday, and it just really, really hit me. And I believe it's by Tony Jones. And she says, I'm $1 million home, and I know there's more to that line, but it's like, I'm $1 million home. And I started thinking about, financially, really, how there's so many of us that are doing affirmations, and we're saying, I want to track this, I want to track that. And this is these are my goals to be successful. This is what I want to do. But then it just like those words, like, I'm $1 million home, like my body's $1 million home, and I thought, what does $1 million home look like to me? Do I look like $1 million home to myself? And it's just like, it's almost like I was hearing something really powerful for the first time. And I thought, that's what it is. That's what like attract like is. It's when you are something and you're attracting that same thing. So going back to owning our now, in that moment, that now moment, I was like, okay, what can I do now to be the person I foresee myself becoming? And that also made me realize, okay, there is acceptance into my now, but there's also saying to myself, like, am I happy with my situation now? For the most part, yes, but I want to grow. My now is about growing. My now is about doing things that can basically water what I foresee myself becoming in my future nows. So, and it goes with everything, my body, the way I dress, the way I do my makeup and hair, the way I have a relationship with my fiance. I foresee a very peaceful, very enriched and financially and happy relationship in the future, a very healthy one. And what can I do to keep watering that for the future now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's I believe in vision boards, I believe in manifestation, right? So like really like thinking it. What is that saying about how thoughts become things? Thoughts become things, right? And so for me, and I'm going to say this. So I was with my cousins, and we were at we were at a place, Lucky Strike. We're at Lucky Strike and we were playing darts. And I don't really play darts. Okay. I don't play darts. I played it probably once with Sam when we were dating, and that was it. And so anyway, we're playing darts, and it was a competition between us cousins. And, you know, I'm throwing the darts and I'm like sucking at it. Okay. I'm really bad. But then I'm very competitive. So I am competitive when it comes to like sports and things like that. Anyway, so I'm like throwing the dart, right? And I'm like, okay, center, right? So I'm telling myself center, like I'm like really envisioning it. Okay, so that was round 1 and I won. So I won. Then round 2, because he's like, all right, let's do a rematch. I'm like, all right. So we do a rematch. And so on a dart, there's like certain like what is it called, areas where it's like double, triple the score. And anyway, so we did round 2, manifesting it again, right? Like, okay, I want it in this area, I want it in this area. Boom, it goes in that area. So I do believe in, you know, what you focus on, what you want, you know, can come true, but it's this energy, right, that you give out, right? And so much like owning our now, you got to take a step back and really ask yourself, what do you want? What do you want for your now? How do you want your now to look, you know, and really envision how you want your now to look. So I love when you say, you know, am I $1 million home? You know, does that apply to me? Am I portraying that, you know? Because that's self-reflection right there, you know, and that just, I feel like the more that you self-reflect, the more that you dig into what it is that you want, you know, the closer you'll get to it, you know, and it's kind of, okay, so I'm in the finance industry, right? So compound interest, like the more that you put into, you know, these things, the more, you know, that you learn more and progress more. I feel like it'll grow much robustly, you know, in the end. It will be a lot wiser, basically.
No, I like that you mentioned that, you know, finances, that's a huge thing. And I think that the relationships and money and spirituality, those are like, you know, really big emotional triggers for a lot of people. And when something's happening in your now, like when it's shaken up, it's probably got to do with one or all, you know, or a few of those things. You know, like if you're having a rough time with your partner, if one of your kids is sick, if your relationship with yourself is off, right? It starts shaking your world up. Same thing with religion or spirituality. If you're feeling like your soul isn't fed and you're feeling like everything's more external and all of a sudden you're feeling like there's no purpose, right? Shakes up your world. Same thing with finances. Money's so emotional. If you feel like, you know, you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you're not able to make rent, or, you know, you're behind in your bills, or you have an abundance of money, but you really have no focus on where it's all supposed to go or be distributed, your world's shaken up. And those are 3 of the top things that really can just disturb your world. So, you know, how do you own those 3? You know, especially when all 3 of those has to do with community, you know, community around you, even community within you. You know, I'm sure like you find yourself talking to yourself, so that's community. But I often ask myself, like, okay, I can't control other people's opinions. I can't control their beliefs. I can't control, you know, their judgments on me and what I do with my life or the choices that I make, but I can control mine. And, you know, just quickly, like looking back in my past, I remember when I was in a relationship with a narcissist, and I remember realizing he was a narcissist. And that's how I started realizing what a narcissist was. And I was so just infatuated. And I thought to myself, this doesn't align with who I am now. I've got to break away. I've got to. And you realize all of these attachments we have are invisible, but they're so strong. They're so strong because there's bonding that each of these have with you in some way, some form. And they're so powerful. I mean, is that crazy? Like, does that ever blow your mind to think that there's invisible chains on you?
Yeah. So that's funny. Okay. So I think Tom and I were talking about this. By the way, happy birthday, Tom. I know it's his birthday today. Tom and I were talking about this yesterday or last week, and we're talking about the Oculus and how it's a virtual thing, right? But it seems so real. So John Legend was, had this Oculus on him, and he's walking this plank, and he's afraid. He's afraid because but even though he's like on stable ground, right? But it still like evokes this like fear in him because he's walking the plank, right? So yes, you're right. We definitely do have these like strongholds. The mind is a powerful thing. And I know my dad, I don't know if my dad's watching, but hi, Dad. My dad has always thought about the brain, and how like powerful the brain is, and how our mindset can completely change the way we function. It can alter, certain things. So yes, you're absolutely right that there is this stronghold, and it's hard to get away from whatever our mind is telling us. So, okay. So for example, I'm going to go back to finance. I have folks that have a 401k. All right. I have folks that have a 401k, IRA, and they're putting money into this vehicle, right? Because it is a retirement vehicle, and it's a great opportunity to learn how to save for retirement purposes. But it is a very volatile position. Okay. So you can suffer losses. In fact, I have clients who lost thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars this past year because the market has fallen, has dropped. And so I'm showing them a different vehicle that can protect their money, but they're having a hard time. It's a shift, it's such a hard shift from changing your habits from going into the 401k and an IRA or, 403b, 457 into this protected vehicle. So it's hard. It is definitely like a stronghold when people are so like used to a certain way, or they're so, their mind is wrapped around this thing. It's hard to wrap around another.
And just for our listeners, describe what you mean by vehicle, because I think some people might think vehicle means an actual vehicle.
So what I mean is a different platform. So there's the 401k, right? And just FYI, 401k is actually a tax code. It's not a product. So we're putting it in a different tax code. So it's a different platform. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. I would love to have a whole podcast on money, because I think both of us can definitely spit some knowledge there. But yes, I love what you're saying, because, going back to our topic of owning your now, I remember I was just having this conversation with, my friend Danita, one of my best friends, who is trying to get her license for life insurance. What's up, Danita? And we're going to get her on too to talk about that also. But I remember back in the day, probably in my early 20s, I was like, I don't even care about life insurance. Like, who needs life insurance? Whatever. When I die, it doesn't even matter. And then I ended up going through, all these sudden deaths. And I realized how much it means to have life insurance, how valuable it is. And it took me to go through some things in my life to really understand what all of those meant. And now it's like, oh my gosh, yes, please, everybody needs to have life insurance, and when it has to do with your now, it's so important, because your now, you may think your like now is setting up your life for the future, but really there's so much more powerfulness in the now, in the present moment. It's not just about peace. It's not just about inner peace and happiness. Yes, that's so huge. But there's also the now that sets you and your loved ones up in case something happens to you now. You know what I mean? So gosh, that we definitely need to do a podcast on finances for later on. But the now encompasses so much that we can't even see with the naked eye. Do you, January?
Yeah, no, you're right. I think so a couple things, right? So our now, sometimes we're also focused about like just the moment, right? And which is important. We do need to be mindful of the moment. And when we talk about owning our now, so for my purposes, right, we're capturing your health right now. You got to capture your health right now, in order to gosh, it's such a hard way to explain it, but you got to do something now to thank your future self. There you go. So you got to do something now in order to thank your future. When you're in your future self, you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, past self, for doing whatever you needed to do right now at this moment. So it's really vital for us to one, breathe. Okay. I think sometimes when we're so like wrapped up in our thoughts, and we're wrapped up in whatever like turmoil that's going on, and stressors and pressures, we don't breathe. We don't take that moment to just take a breather, right? Take a breather and be mindful of the moment, right? So one, like what Helen was saying, yes, be mindful of your now, because your future self, you need that, you need to do whatever you're doing now for your future self, right? And so, but you also have to be mindful of that moment, so that you don't feel like you're in the past, or you don't feel like you're too forward in the future. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think sometimes we think about all of our, all of the things that, grudges and like whatever hurts, and our pains and our sorrows and our, I miss my dog. Okay. I miss my dog a lot, but I can't continue to be sad and wallow in my, tears of that he's not here, or I could have done better, whatever, but I have to be present in the moment, and I'm here. My other dog needs me. So I'm, taking care of my dog. And, I say that because we can get stuck in our thoughts, so it's not even the now, because we're so stuck in our thoughts. So I feel like owning our now is really like, take a breather right here, right now. Where are we? What are we doing? Deep counts of 4, okay? And hold that breath in and just calm down. Meditate. I'm going to say it. Meditate. You got to meditate, because sometimes when you're not owning your now, if you're thinking about the past, if you're thinking way too forward in the future, and you're thinking the worst case scenario, you are not in the now. So you got to think about the now. And I say that because I just, I just found out, and I God bless him. I don't know him very well, and I wish I did. But he is my cousin. I just found out that he passed away. So he passed away of a heart attack. So I just want to just take this moment in silence for him. Because, our life is not guaranteed. Our life is not guaranteed. So own your now. If you are planning on writing a book, if you're planning on, going skydiving, or heck, just going out to the beach, okay, do it. Do it. Do it now. Okay. Own your now, because we don't know when the good Lord will take us.
My condolences to your family and to your cousin's family. 38 is so young. And I was telling my fiance this is why birthdays are so big to me. Some people are like, oh, whatever, it's another year. No, it's another year that you made it and somebody else didn't. It's powerful. Birthdays are powerful. There's a reason why it's so amazing to celebrate every day, really. And I just want to kind of say something about what you said about do something today that your future self will thank you for. So here's my question to every one of you listening, and you, January. Now that you are in the present moment and you think back to your past, is there, you don't have to answer this, but are there, the question is, now, what are you thankful for that your person in your past did for you to get you to the point you're at now? So it's like you were talking about reflection. So now me now. What am I thankful that I did a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20, or yeah, I guess I'm 42, 20 years ago to help get me to where I'm at now? And when I think about that question, wow, thank you, past me. Thank you so much for some of the hardest decisions you had to make in your life, because I'm in a really good place. I'm in one of the happiest places I've ever been in my life. And knowing that I could say thank you and spend that time in reflection, it should encourage you to think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, can you say thank you to where you are now? You know, maybe write a letter to yourself, maybe spend some time writing a letter to yourself and to your past self, and then another one for your future self. I know they do that in a couple workshops, but do it for yourself. Take the time to write a letter to your past self, to tell them thank you, or maybe say, hey, you could have done this. And then also write a letter to your future self. Like, I hope you're proud for me doing this and this and this and this, because this is what I really plan to do. And mark it up, you know, just, do you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm getting stuck in the moment, but.
No, I know what you're saying. I love that, because it's important to, it is important to reflect. That's actually one of the other topics I wanted to talk about is reflection, self-reflection. But yes, I will definitely be writing my future self a letter to say thank you, because there are so many things to be thankful for. I like that exercise, Helen. That's a great way, great tool to use, you know, to do some self-reflection. What is your past self? What are you thankful for your past self that brought you to who you are at this very moment? And then for your future self, what would your future self say to thank you for what you're doing right now? Hence owning your now, right? So that's good stuff. I like that. I'm definitely going to do that. Okay,
yes.
So
I was like, where's the mute button? So I know we're going to have to wrap this up soon. So I want to take this opportunity to, since we are on Facebook Live, to maybe give a few shout outs to some people, maybe, you know, if you have some people that we'd like to say thank you to, maybe who's given us some guidance, encouragement, or some good vibes this week. Like, let's end it with some gratitude. So I'll go first real quick. BJ, I got your send out cards message, and I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciated it. And I want to say thank you to my friends, Michelle and Delina. We're holding a goddess gathering tomorrow night, and I just really appreciate that they are opening up their home and helping me facilitate this. January, I want to say thank you to you. You know, we've been doing this a year. You know, I've had the podcast for 5 years. For you, you've committed to being my co-host for a year, and I no longer feel like this is just my podcast and I'm doing this alone. I actually feel like I have a solid partner in this. You've stuck by me. This has been a crazy year, and you've stuck by and you've stuck with it. And we're now sponsored. We got ads. Click on the ads. Go check them out. You know, it just, I appreciate you so much, sis. And that's my 3 shout outs. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, my heart. I am so thankful for you. This has been an amazing platform, I feel, for us, you know, to just communicate and get our voices heard. And, you know, I'm going to tell you one thing, Helen. I actually was afraid to use my voice. So for a long time, I've actually just kind of held back everything that I was thinking and everything that I felt, and I don't really share it, you know, and this was like, okay, I'm just going to jump all in, and I'm just going to start sharing, you know, how I'm feeling. And I'm so thankful for you, because this is an amazing journey that we've been on. Yes, it has been a year. So, but I love our friendship too. I love the friendship that you and I have built together. Love that we can just talk on the fly and like send each other, you know, our little voice memos. So I do love that. And so heart to you, sis, heart to you. I do want to thank, gosh, there's so many people to thank. Tammy and Stacy, these are the two ladies that I've been hanging out with. Just this past weekend, we had such a great time that has given me so much joy. So I'm just so thankful for them, for just continue to just check up on me, see how I'm doing, and just, just be there. So I'm thankful for them. Thankful for my family. I love my family. They've just continued to just, given me again, joy. My word of the year is joy. So, but man, 3 is just not too much, but there's so many other people to thank. So I am blessed. I'm thankful and overjoyed. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And we just want to, we want to be the example of putting it out there, that gratitude vibe, and we're passing it on to all of our listeners out there. If you're watching this, if you want to thank people publicly through our podcast, send us an email, give us some people to give shout outs to, sexyfreedomnow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, or even if you just want to say some gratitude to us or something that, we were able to inspire you on. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can also buy us a coffee. The link is in the show notes. And we love coffee. And I'm just going to say where you can find me. You can get my book, Nothing Sexier Than Freedom. That's available on Amazon in audiobook. You can also work with me. You can click my link in the show notes. I am also available for coaching as a confidence coach, a soundboard coach, where I would just listen to you. And when you want my advice, I will give it to you. So I'm available for that. No judgments at all. And January.
Yeah, so you can find me Facebook, VIP Finance Builders. I share a lot of finance talk on there. So great page to go on. And then you can also find me on IG, Finance Builders. But before I continue on, I also have a book, actually. So it's Behind the Rank. So I'm a co-author amongst many other authors. It talks about, my journey. So it's called Behind the Rank. Also wanted to just thank our listeners. So thank you, listeners. Because of you, you've helped us get to, to our first benchmark. So thank you so very, very much, because now we are a sponsored, we're a sponsored podcast. So thank you. Thank you. We heart you so much. Hearts all around. So thank you, listeners. We appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening to our Sexy Freedom Media podcast, and we hope that you subscribe, hit the 5-star button on Spotify, and give us a review on Apple. We love you. Thank you so much for listening. Ashoa here.
Aloha.
Want to hear more?
Visit us at sexyfreedommedia.com.